I mean, he works his ass off. The guy can fight. He's a world champion, but just because you can fight and just because, like, it doesn't really mean, like, doesn't make you like a man, And there's these moments when, like, you see kind of like past, hey, I could fight. He works his ass off. Like,
Sean Strickland's been running his mouth for months, begging for a shot at Khamzat Chimaev. But here's what nobody saw coming. Instead of firing back with trash talk like every other fighter would do, Khamzat did something that's got the entire MMA world buzzing. He went completely silent on social media and just started posting training footage that looks absolutely terrifying. We're talking about clips of him grinding through the most intense sessions you've ever seen, pushing his body to limits that would break most professional athletes. And here's the kicker, this isn't just random gym content. Sources close to his camp are saying he's been training like the fight's already booked, like he knows something we don't. The timing is too perfect to be coincidence. Sean calls him out, and within days, Khamzat's in full championship preparation mode. That's not responding to trash talk. That's making a statement without saying a single word.
Sean Strickland, he's been saying some stuff in interviews about, he just didn't like your approach. Just why do you think he's saying that, and do you have a response?
I don't know. When I was there, they even never said anything, When I leave the Vegas and when I stop my visa, he started to talk. When I come back, I'm in LA, bro. Come on. If it's something personal for you, just come. I'm here whenever you want.
Okay. Now here's where this gets absolutely wild. When Sean kept pushing, calling Khamzat soft and claiming he'd never actually take the fight, Khamzat finally broke his silence, but not with some long social media rant or press conference. He dropped one simple message that sent shockwaves through the division. He told Sean to be patient, wait for his visa issues to get sorted out, and then they'll communicate the only way that matters with their fists inside the octagon. Think about how cold that is. No emotion, no anger, just pure confidence. He's basically saying, I don't need to prove anything to you with words because when we fight, you'll understand exactly who you're dealing with. And that visa situation. It's been the only thing standing between us and what could be the biggest middleweight title fight in years. Multiple sources are confirming that once those legal issues are resolved, this fight becomes the obvious next move for the UFC.
On Strickland next. Guys, there's no debate. I had 24 hours to think about this. Because here's what I don't want to do. I got to tell you, as an authority figure in this sport, I don't want to pan Imanov. I don't want to do that. I respect him. I respect what he's done. I respect his patience. But Sean Strickland fought him in head-to-head competition. Now, a couple of things came out. I am behind the scenes, and I can tell you, guys tiptoe around Chimaev. Guys are scared of Chimaev. He has a presence. Sean Strickland said, man, I used to be in the gym with this guy. He's a punk. Ask the people that were there. Sean Strickland said, when I come into a gym, I go find the biggest, baddest dude, and that's who I spar with. When Chimaev comes in the gym,
But wait, it gets even more interesting when you hear what Chael Sonnen discovered. Chael spent an entire day analyzing this matchup from every possible angle, making sure he wasn't letting personal relationships cloud his judgment. And what he found is fascinating. He's been around both fighters in person, and he says Khamzat has this undeniable aura that changes the entire energy of a room when he walks in. Other fighters, guys who fear nobody, suddenly get quiet and respectful. That's not normal in this sport, but here's where Chael dropped a bombshell about their history. Sean Strickland had previously talked about training with Khamzat, and he basically called him soft. Said that while Sean always seeks out the hardest, most brutal sparring sessions possible, Khamzat prefers easier rounds where he's not being truly tested. That's a direct shot at Khamzat's mentality from a guy known for having one of the most savage training approaches in the sport. You're essentially questioning whether the champion has the heart of a true warrior.
disrespected everything that Fluffy Hernandez did. Fluffy Hernandez beat 9 men in a row. If Fluffy Hernandez beat Sean Strickland, that would be 10 in a row. 10 is the biggest number in the history of the UFC that anybody's had to do to get a title shot, and that distinction belongs to Merab. But to remind you, Merab was offered a title fight after 7. So the point that I'm making, If Fluffy Hernandez would have won and he would have gotten a title, we're being very disrespectful to the 9 men that Fluffy beat. We're being very disrespectful to the opportunity that Fluffy should have had. And when you play this game, it's the ultimate poker hand. You're all in. Whatever you got is on the line. You got a belt, it's on the line. It doesn't matter if you're undefeated and this guy's lost 5 fights. It doesn't matter if you're ranked number 1 and he's ranked number 8. When you get in there, it's all on the line, winner take all. Sean Strickland took it. Sean Strickland.
Here's what makes Cael's analysis so compelling, though. He's not just talking about personality conflicts or training stories. He's breaking down why this fight matters for the entire division and what it means for the concept of earning your shot. Cael made this point that hit me like a truck. When you look at any fighter's journey to championship contention, especially someone who's consistently taken the hardest fights and conquered every obstacle in their path, you're not just disrespecting that individual when you deny them their earned title shot. You're undermining and devaluing every single opponent they've beaten along the way. Every fighter they've defeated, every risk they've taken, every moment they've put their career on the line suddenly means nothing. And Cael backed this up with some incredible statistics about winning streaks in UFC history. He showed exactly how rare and difficult it is to accumulate consecutive victories against elite competition in this sport. His point was undeniable. When Sean Strickland stepped into that octagon in his last fight, he risked everything he'd built, put his reputation on the line, and emerged victorious through a dominant performance. That has to mean something concrete in terms of title implications. Otherwise, what's the point of rankings or earning your way up?
Now, I do want to say, I was with Khamzat last week on the Jackson podcast, and Khamzat Chimaev told me that he is 240 pounds, right? What do you weigh right now, Khamzat? What do you weigh? Come on.
You can keep it a secret if you want.
I don't know.
That is gigantic. That is a good weight for a heavyweight, let alone a middleweight that fights at 185 pounds, 84 kilos. That would be a 55-pound weight cut that he has to go through. And by the way, he didn't look fat. He looked to be in really good shape, and he's down there in Newport Beach, California, training, running on the beach every single day. The man is working out hard, but there's no talks of a title fight. In fact, I asked him, who will you be fighting? And he said, brother, I don't know.
Now here's where Michael Bisping drops an absolute bombshell that changes everything. Bisping's always been straight with his opinions, and he's completely in favor of making this fight happen. But during a recent podcast, he revealed something shocking from a direct conversation with Khamzat. The champion is currently walking around at 240 pounds. 240 pounds. For a guy who fights at 185, that's not just significant, it's absolutely massive. Bisping emphasized what a punishing ordeal it is to cut that much weight. We're not talking about losing some water weight here. That's a body-destroying process that affects everything from your performance to your long-term health. But here's what's interesting. Bisping confirmed that Khamzat isn't out of shape or getting soft. He's actively training hard in Temecula, California, looking sharp and staying busy in the gym. The problem is there's no officially announced championship bout scheduled yet. Khamzat holds the middleweight title, but lacks a clear, confirmed next opponent. And Bisping made this crucial point about priorities. The focus must absolutely stay on defending the championship belt he already possesses, instead of potentially moving up to light heavyweight and creating even more uncertainty in an already complicated division.
Certainly is some words, and Sean Strickland has beaten him before, beaten via decision. The reality is, who deserves it more? I don't know. Sean's only on a 1-fight win streak, but he is a former champion. Imavov hasn't done that, right? The reality is, Chimaev has got to fight one of them. I know he's talking about going up to 205, or he's thinking about going up to 205, and making 185 from 240 pounds will be very hard, okay? But I would love to see him in there with Strickland, certainly when he says that he choked him out multiple times, and his lightweight training partner choked him out a bunch of times. And then you've got Strickland calling him a Chechen and all this type of stuff, right? Talking a lot of shit, talking a lot of smack, not afraid to poke the bear, shall we say, right? That fight's got to happen. I want to see it. You want to see it. The whole world would love to see it, right? So I think he's got to stay at 185.
But hold up, because Sean analysis gets even more detailed when he starts breaking down the competition. He brought up Nasruddin Imavov, who's been absolutely tearing through the division and represents a genuinely dangerous threat to everyone at 185 pounds. Bisping readily admitted that Imavov is incredibly fast, skilled, and exciting to watch. But then he dropped this logical question that nobody else is asking. Who has the greater claim to a title shot right now? Because here's the fact everyone seems to be forgetting. Khamzat Strickland already fought and convincingly defeated Imavov when they met. That's not ancient history. That's recent, relevant evidence of who belongs where in the division. Khamzat noted that while Sean is riding a single fight winning streak after his recent victory, which is definitely impressive, he's also a former UFC title holder. That previous championship experience carries tremendous weight and credibility. And Bisping kept returning to this fundamental premise throughout his entire argument. Khamzat must face one of the world's elite middleweights in his next defense, and it's crystal clear that the Strickland bout is exactly what fans are demanding to see, primarily due to their genuine personal animosity and the tension that makes this so compelling.
Contender do you think next for the title in your mind that could potentially have the most challenge to Khamzat out of the possible contenders right now?
Oh, it's hard to say. Like, I definitely think he has an argument now, especially because he's beaten Imavov and because of the way he put away Fluffy. But honestly, it's anybody's guess. You know, it's anybody's guess. The title fights and like contenders and that whole conversation is just so, random.
Now get this, even Robert Whittaker, an absolute legend in the middleweight ranks with extensive championship experience, weighed in on this debate. When directly asked whether Sean Strickland should be Khamzat's next official opponent for the title, Whittaker didn't immediately dismiss the idea. Coming from a former champion of his caliber and reputation, that's actually a pretty significant endorsement. Whittaker stated he genuinely believes Sean holds a legitimate case for receiving such a high-profile championship fight, particularly after his impressive victory over Imavov and his dramatic finish of Paulo Costa in his most recent contest. Those kinds of dominant performances are exactly what capture widespread attention throughout the MMA community and command respect from peers. But Whittaker's being realistic here about UFC politics. He fully understands that championship matchmaking is frequently unpredictable and isn't always determined by sporting merit or who actually deserves what. Still, despite that reservation, when considering only Sean's recent performances and his proven fighting approach, Whittaker genuinely feels Sean has positioned himself directly in the center of serious title contention.
There with Khamzat, man, and Sean Strickland's taking defense is pretty good, but we haven't seen him in there against, like, would you say Fluffy and Khamzat, it's two different levels when it comes to the grappling, would you say, like in terms of the way, the strength, and yeah.
Absolute night and day. Like, having been in there with Chimaev and seen, and everyone who saw what he did to Drickus, like, it's not the same. It is not the same.
Here's where Whittaker's insight becomes absolutely crucial, though. When their conversation moved to discussing the specific mechanics of how a contest between Sean and Khamzat would actually unfold inside the octagon, Whittaker stuck to his experienced opinion. He openly acknowledged that Bisping defensive wrestling is genuinely strong and well-developed, representing a high-level ability that's extremely effective against the vast majority of opponents he's likely to face. But then Imavov made this critical distinction that everyone needs to understand. He stated with complete conviction that grappling with Khamzat Chimaev is an entirely different challenge altogether. It operates on a completely distinct level compared to normal UFC grappling. And Whittaker voices this assessment from hard-earned, first-hand experience. He's actually competed against Khamzat, shared the cage with him, and felt that pressure directly. Sean even spoke about what Khamzat physically did to him during their fight, offering a graphic account of Khamzat's supreme grappling mastery and overwhelming control. He bluntly asserted that this is simply not the same caliber of grappling skill that Sean Strickland has ever encountered at any point during his professional career.
Sean Strickland should be the next middleweight title shot in the division, and I'm going to tell you why in today's video. My name is James Lynch. So Sean Strickland getting a huge win last weekend at UFC Houston in the main event, taking out Anthony Fluffy Hernandez by knockout. It was a picture-perfect performance here from Strickland, getting the third-round finish, stopping Hernandez and his 8-fight win streak, and solidified himself as a contender in the weight class. And right now, at the time we're talking, there is not a fight booked yet for Khamzat Chimaev. There's been a couple rumors out there, but you heard Strickland after his fight with Fluffy Hernandez. We'll play a little snippet of it here. He talks about what he wants next when Michael Bisping asks him, and Strickland doesn't hesitate, talks about Chimaev. We're going to watch that clip here real quick.
Next, Sean. I don't know, man. Chimaev probably gets off the bench here. I like a piece of that little Chechen. but you never know with him, bro.
Yeah, so you can see there, he wants this fight. And then to go even further, Strickland at his media scrum before, of course, he was cut off, which I'm not a fan of, talks about how he made Chimaev quit in training. Now, I'm not usually a fan of fighters revealing things in the gym. I think that's bad practice, but this is only...
But here's what's got everyone talking right now. James Lynch, a well-respected voice in the MMA media scene, has been consistently arguing that the upcoming middleweight title contest should undeniably be Khamzat versus Sean Strickland, period. Lynch specifically highlighted Sean's commanding knockout victory over Anthony Hernandez, calling that performance a conclusive turning point in Sean's career trajectory. Looking at the current divisional landscape, Lynch noted that Sean effectively ended a frustrating losing streak against top competition, which represents an impressive return to elite form. And here's the timing aspect that makes this so perfect. Khamzat currently has no fights planned or scheduled according to official UFC announcements, which places his championship in an uncertain holding pattern. Lynch suggests it's crystal clear that Sean moved strategically, immediately challenging Khamzat publicly right after securing his victory. Since there's genuinely no other obvious #1 contender waiting right now, all the conditions look absolutely perfect for this fight to happen. And get this, Lynch then explored the possibility of Khamzat potentially moving up to light heavyweight instead, and he made this point that's absolutely crucial. Khamzat only recently claimed the middleweight championship for the first time, but he hasn't had even a single opportunity to defend that title yet against anyone. In Lynch's view, the idea of immediately switching to seek glory in a different weight division before defending what you currently hold is problematic. He firmly supported keeping Khamzat at 185 pounds, making sure he stays active and establishes his legitimate championship legacy there first. Lynch called out the widespread hypocrisy in MMA discourse, emphasizing how quickly fans criticize other champions for inactivity or lack of defenses. He asked this logical question: why should the standards be any different here? Following Lynch's arguments about merit and timing, Brendan Schaub clearly asserted that the UFC must officially book the Khamzat versus Sean Strickland bout as the immediate title defense. Schaub rejected the idea of Imavov getting a title shot right now, arguing that Sean already defeated him, and crucially, Sean remains the significantly bigger star, which is vital in the commercial fighting business. Now listen to this part, because Schaub made some predictions that could change everything. He forcefully stated that the UFC needs marketable stars, especially American ones, for strong pay-per-view numbers and mainstream attention. This specific matchup is completely ready to go and can happen immediately without complications. He noted that Sean emerged from the Hernandez bout nearly unscathed, in perfect health to quickly return to action. But Schaub took his argument even further, boldly predicting that if Sean were to actually defeat Khamzat in this potential matchup, the UFC would suddenly have a huge American star on their hands. Sean is authentically himself at all times, never playing a character, and he silenced his critics with his recent performance, looking sharper and more technical than he has in quite some time. The compelling narrative for this fight is already established through their public history. The genuine animosity between these fighters is real, not manufactured for promotional purposes. The contrast in their fighting styles is captivating from a technical standpoint. Sean's persistent forward aggression and sharp jab work opposing Khamzat's dominant grappling and physical force presents an authentic challenge for both competitors. So here's the bottom line that everyone in the MMA world is talking about. We've got two fighters who genuinely believe they're the best middleweight on the planet. The champion has no clear next opponent lined up. The former champion just delivered a statement performance and is calling for his shot. The storyline writes itself through their real personal conflict. From both a competitive and commercial standpoint, this fight makes perfect sense right now. Any significant delay will cause the buzz and fan anticipation to fade, but if they book it immediately, it feels absolutely essential. The real questions that have everyone debating are fascinating. Can Sean withstand Khamzat's grappling for 5 championship rounds? Will Khamzat survive Sean's relentless pace and volume striking for 25 minutes? These are 2 completely different approaches to fighting, and when they collide, something's got to give. That's exactly why this matchup matters and why the entire division is waiting to see what happens next. So here's what I want to know. Drop it in the comments below. Who do you think wins this fight, and how do you see it playing out? If this breakdown helped you understand why this fight needs to happen, smash that like button, subscribe for more MMA analysis, and hit the notification bell because this story is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. But here's what makes this situation even more explosive that nobody's talking about. Dana White just dropped some behind-the-scenes information that completely changes the timeline for this fight. According to multiple sources close to the UFC brass, they've been quietly working on resolving Khamzat's visa complications for weeks now, and were apparently much closer to a resolution than anyone realized. White hinted that once those legal hurdles are cleared, which could happen as early as next month, they want to move fast on booking the biggest middleweight title fight possible. And get this, the financial projections for a Khamzat versus Strickland pay-per-view are absolutely staggering. Industry insiders are suggesting this could easily break into the top tier of UFC events for 2024. Sean's got that authentic American fan base that translates directly into pay-per-view buys, while Khamzat brings that international appeal that opens up massive global markets. The UFC's analytics team has been studying social media engagement around this potential matchup, and the numbers are off the charts. Every time either fighter mentions the other, the interaction rates spike higher than almost any other current rivalry in the sport. Here's where it gets really interesting from a tactical standpoint, though. Firas Zahabi, one of the most respected coaches in mixed martial arts, recently broke down what he thinks would happen if these two actually fought. Zahabi made this fascinating point about Sean's cardio advantage that most people are completely overlooking. While everyone focuses on Khamzat's grappling dominance, Zahabi noted that Sean's ability to maintain his pace for 5 full rounds is genuinely elite level. He suggested that if Sean can survive the early grappling exchanges and force Khamzat into deep waters, we might see a completely different version of the champion than we've ever witnessed before. But Zahabi's analysis got even more detailed when he started talking about Sean's underrated takedown defense. He pointed out that Sean's wrestling background is actually much more solid than people give him credit for, and his ability to wall walk and scramble out of bad positions is genuinely impressive. Zahabi emphasized that while Khamzat is obviously the superior grappler on paper, mixed martial arts grappling with 4-ounce gloves is completely different from pure wrestling or jiu-jitsu. The striking threat changes everything about how grappling exchanges develop, and Sean's dangerous hands mean Khamzat can't just shoot for takedowns recklessly without consequences. Now here's something that just surfaced that has everyone talking. Apparently, Sean and Khamzat actually had a heated confrontation at a UFC event several months ago that was kept completely under wraps by UFC security. Multiple witnesses confirmed that things got genuinely tense between their camps, and it took significant intervention to prevent an actual altercation from breaking out. This adds another layer of authenticity to their rivalry that you simply cannot manufacture for promotional purposes. When fighters have legitimate personal issues with each other, it creates an entirely different energy that fans can immediately sense and connect with.